And good morning. We welcome on the line once again Dr. Jean Enghong Yang, the Associate Professor of Biological Sciences. That's a mouthful, Doctor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on here today as we talk to you being a biologist. What can you tell us about remote instruction? Because the pandemic continues, and I know there are many concerns.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I would like to start this talk with basically defining the difference between remote instruction and online instruction.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure that our students do not get confused about this. Now, remote instruction is basically an on-campus class that is scheduled online. In other words, a student would sign up for a given class at a very specific time of the week and a very specific time of the day. And technically, a student is supposed to show up on campus for that class. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic situation, to limit the spread of the virus, we are forced to study from home. So basically, remote instruction is going to allow us to deliver the same material with an online system. That being said, as opposition to online course, an online course is typically what we call asynchronous. So the student has the freedom to log in to his account or her account at their own leisure, at their own time, while remote instruction, students will have to sign in the classroom at a very specific time according to the same schedule they would use when coming in person on campus. So it's very important for our students to understand that difference, that a remote course is not an online course. They have to expect the course to be synchronous as much as possible, because sometimes we do experience some discrepancies depending on where the student lives, as of the speed of the internet.
Right.
So instructors are going to do their very best to make sure that in spite of the fact that we want those remote classes to happen synchronously, in some situations, some adaptation would be required.
Right.
But that the instructor is going to make sure that all the students receive equal opportunity there.
All right. So don't be late for class is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. So inform us a little bit about how it's going to look, especially when you get a bulk of students coming back to some of the on-campus classes, about wearing masks. What are the requirements? Where do you have to wear them? Are there places that you don't have to? How is that going to look at Kent State Tuscarawas?
Well, typically, students will be required to wear a mask at all times on campus. So first of all, let me kind of step back a little bit and address the wearing a mask as a general rule of limiting the spread of the pandemic. So the mask, I hear a lot about, okay, well, should we wear a mask? Should we not wear a mask? And I don't want to wear a mask because of this and because of that. But we have to understand that the wearing of a mask, it's really to protect other people. Mm-hmm. We do know at this point in time that most individuals who carry the virus are asymptomatic. So we may feel very well and not be aware of the fact that we are carrying the virus with us. So when we are asked to wear a mask, it's actually to limit the spread when we talk, when we sneeze, the spread of the virus coming from the droplets that come from our mouth. So it is more about protecting other people than protecting us. Now, let me specify that the virus is so small that when it's in the air and we're wearing a mask, that mask is not going to prevent us to breathe that virus, because the pores in the mask are so wide compared to the size of the virus that the virus we can breathe in. Okay? However, when we wear a mask and we talk, the mask is going to block the droplets that come from our mouth, which is going to be a way to limit the spread to other people in case we were to be asymptomatic. So that is the rationale for the mask. Now, on campus, we are required to wear the mask at all times, just because, well, we meet people all the time on campus. So when we are in a classroom, which is a confined environment, though the capacity is going to be extremely limited to basically allow enough space between students and instructors, nevertheless, we still have to wear those masks when in a classroom. Now, when walking outside of the classroom, we still have to wear a mask because we are going to pass through some people, and if we don't wear that mask and we are talking, we are passing around that virus. So basically, everywhere on campus, we should be wearing a mask.
Our guest is Dr. Jean-Engahong Nhong, the Associate Professor of Biological Sciences at Kent State Tusc Ross. So microbiology is your specialty. Is there a message or a ray of hope that you can tell us about the COVID-19, since that's kind of in your scope of expertise?
Yes, absolutely. So one thing that we know at this point, and that is encouraging, if I can use that term, is that we do know that when the virus copies itself, we notice that it has what we call a proofreading activity. What we mean by proofreading activity is that when the genetic information is copied and that the machinery that is responsible for copying the genetic information makes mistakes, those mistakes are going to be corrected. So as opposition to, for instance, the flu virus, influenza, that mutates very easily and all the time because it doesn't have that activity, in case we are able to develop a vaccine against COVID-19, that vaccine is likely to be stable. In other words, we are not going to be in a situation where every single year we have to develop a brand new vaccine the way we do with the flu virus. So that is very encouraging.
Yes.
Because of that nature. So, and I do know that some progress is being made in terms of clinical trials. I'm hearing about phase 3 clinical trial, which means that we are really close to getting a vaccine that can be delivered to people.
Well, that is great news. Well, that's a high note to end on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Certainly. That's Dr. Jean-Engahong Nhong, the Associate Professor of Biological Sciences, as you've been listening to Tusc Talks on the 830 High Beam here on Big Hits WBTC.